We need to build a fence that is at 90 degrees to the house. The fence line has shrubs and hedging etc. in the way, and we have no indication of the boundary. The boundary is at 90 degrees to the dividing wall, the party wall between the two terraced houses, and is clearly indicated where they have been painted on the exterior walls between the houses. Effectively, using basic tools, we need to construct a 3, 4, 5 triangle, as we know the fence comes off the house at 90 degrees. The bigger the triangle, the better, simply as we need to work off it to know the fence line as accurately as possible. If we remember back to school, a squared plus b squared equals c squared for a 3, 4, 5 right angle triangle. So then we'll need to use this as a calculation method to determine the lengths are in alignment to create the right angle triangle. The black line shown is the front of the house. The red dotted line is where I want the fence to be, 90 degrees to the front of the house. The green boxes are the hedges and plants in the way. The small triangles are the stakes I put in the ground. The left-hand side is an old fence line that I'm not sure is actually at 90 degrees to the house and has lots of hedging, etc. So I can't trust that. Hence, we put 2 stakes in the ground away from the front of the house. Both are same distance. In my case, 3 feet, which is forward of the porch. Basically, we want to be free of obstacles when we measure the triangle out with a couple of tape measures. The distance between the 2 stakes is your A measurement. Then in my case, I measured out the proposed length for B and placed a stake in the ground. This is a temporary stake, just as a marker to fine-tune with. Then as you have both A and B measurements, you can then solve for C. In my case, I put screws in the top of the stakes and I had 2 long sight tapes that are cheap to purchase. Then with the 2 tapes, one on each of the length of A, I pulled them taut, and where they crossed and confirming the lengths required for B and C, I put that finalised stake in the ground for that point. And then finally I was able to measure off that line, B, nearest the house where the actual boundary was. I knew where the party wall was, so then I could put stakes in by using the same distance down the length of the B line, remembering that shrubs and hedges etc. are in the way of the actual boundary line. This way you know where to run your fence without having to cut down any hedges etc. This is the corner of length B and C. Basically, it's the furthest point from the house where the fence was running down to. The stake on the left is the intersection of the measurements of B and C that I calculated previously, and the stake on the right is the additional amount I need to add on to get across from that right angle triangle to the absolute boundary, remembering that further up there's shrubs and hedges in the way. So this is a picture of the initial fence being constructed, i.e. that it is at right angles to the house along the true boundary and taking into consideration the hedges and shrubs in the way.